As-salamu alaykum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Welcome to the Ramadan diet. I told you guys in the first section that I was excited for this, so I'm excited that we're here now because we're gonna rip into this hard and get you guys ready to truly make the most of this Ramadan from an ibadah standpoint, because your energy levels are optimized and you have simple suhoors and inflammation-free iftars, aka no bloating, none of that food coma, none of that stuff that might have ruined Ramadans for you past or taken away from your ibadah. We're gonna destroy that and we're gonna practice and build good habits during the Sunnah fast so that by the time Ramadan comes around, you are zoned in, focused, ready to truly make the most of it. Bi'idhnillah. May Allah facilitate this for all of us. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Ya Allah, please make this module beneficial for the believers to get their nutrition dialed in and ultimately see success in Ramadan. Allahumma balighna Ramadan. Ameen. Allahumma balighna Laylatul Qadr. Ameen. All right, Bismillah, let's dive in. So, Suhoor Strategy 101. The first priority when it comes to stacking your suhoor is gonna be getting your protein in. And this is important because a lot of people, they're gonna lose muscle while they're fasting because they're not eating enough protein and they're not training properly, and then they start to feel weak, and by the time the last 10 nights comes around, they have no endurance because they've lost all their muscle, right? So if you get enough protein and you're doing the training that we're gonna talk about in Module 5, Lesson 5, sorry, I always use the word module and lesson interchangeably, then inshallah, it's not gonna happen to you. You're gonna have amazing endurance by the time that Ramadan's over, instead of having like back pain and, you know, weakness and all this other stuff's gonna mess you up if you don't take care of yourself and you don't take care of the body that Allah gave you. In addition to this, getting protein at suhoor time is gonna help you to feel more satiated, so you get less hungry. It's gonna boost your metabolism, give you more energy, more strength, more endurance, as we said. And it's gonna set a foundation in your stomach for your other nutrients to kind of last longer, okay? Now, alongside this, and a lot of these foods that we're gonna recommend for protein actually have a lot of good healthy fats in them, and that's priority number 2. Healthy fats, which also are gonna slow down the digestion, especially coupled with that protein, and give you really good sustainable energy, and also teach your body how to use fat for fuel so that your body does so more efficiently. Now, it doesn't mean that you have to eat fat to train your body to burn fat, but it can assist with encouraging your body to be in that mode by default instead of having a rough transition into it from carb burning mode to fat burning mode. Again, some people have great metabolic flexibility, and we want to build that through our fast, through our nutritional protocols, through just our training and our fitness in general. And that's why I recommend that you at least do a calorie deficit for at least 4 weeks of your Ramadan prep, even if your goal isn't to lose fat. Still, I want to train your body to be able to, you know, be efficient going into Ramadan instead of your body not knowing how to produce a lot of energy from your own body fat. Because if you can't do that, you're going to kind of struggle your first few days of Ramadan to adjust and have energy, and even throughout the month. Versus if we can get your body burning fat for energy, you're gonna have a lot more energy during the day. So healthy fats are important for this reason, as well as our whole Ramadan prep, and that's why we're gonna be doing the Sunnah fast, a couple other dietary things, etc., in preparation for Ramadan. Of course, the fats are gonna increase your satiation, your long-term energy, as I mentioned, train your body to use fat for energy, and it also sets a foundation in your stomach for the other nutrients to absorb better and to enter your bloodstream more slowly and to empty from your stomach and digestive system more slowly so that you feel more satiated, less hungry. Now, don't get me wrong, there is a very high likelihood that you're still gonna get hungry at some point in your fast, but it's not gonna be nearly as severe as if you ate like some sugar and processed carbs and all this other stuff. Because when we keep the carbs lower, you get less of a blood sugar spike, which means less of a crash, which means you're gonna get less of that crash that makes you feel tired and hungry later into the fast. Versus if you eat too much carbs or too many simple carbs that acutely spike your blood sugar, your body releases insulin, stores it all, often as fat, sometimes as muscle though, depending on which carbs and other contexts, how you're training, etc. Then you get into this food coma where you're, or not even necessarily a food coma, you just get tired, you get hungry, and your whole fast is miserable. No, we don't want that. So we're not really gonna be having a lot of carbs at suhoor. And if we have carbs at suhoor, it's gonna be complex carbs. However, there is a third thing that we're gonna add to our stomach after we have the foundation of protein and fats, and that is actually a carb source. Now, I know that might sound like it conflicts everything I just said, but I'm gonna explain, subhanAllah, the miracle, how this is actually gonna benefit you, unlike any other carb. Any other carb, I mean, again, some people can do well on like complex, long-lasting carbs, but any other carb that tastes this sweet and delicious would not have this effect. It would have the opposite effect and it would mess you up, but this one's actually gonna help you. And that is the sunnah of dates. Now, when somebody first told me, after I've been like, you know, fasting and lifting for, you know, almost 15 years, and I was die hard, no carbs, not even dates at suhoor. Why would you eat carbs, spike your blood sugar, boom, boom, crash? No, the suhoor strategy works, and it worked for me for 15 years or 14 years. But on the 15th year, or really year 14 or 15, when I found out that dates are sunnah, I said, well, dang, I mean, I don't want to be contradicting the sunnah here just for my nutrition. So you know what? I'm gonna try a date. And I was pleasantly surprised. I didn't crash, I didn't feel tired. I actually had better hydration during my fast and even better energy and digestion. And I was like, subhanAllah. And that's when I started to realize that dates are a sunnah superfood. I mean, we knew it was sunnah, but we didn't know it was a superfood. We just eat it for the sake of Allah, and subhanAllah, it actually gives you a benefit. There's so many things, science may not discover them yet, but yet we do them for the sake of Allah, and 1400 years later, science discovers that it's good for you. But we don't need science to tell us that per se. Obviously, we still learn science because it's still relevant, but no matter what, we're gonna follow the sunnah, whether or not there's a scientific explanation for it, because we know that it's from Allah and it pleases Allah, and at the end of the day, this life is temporary, but guess what? Allah blesses us with positive effects regardless. But anyways, so the benefit to dates, so we do it because of sunnah, but guess what? They actually increase your hydration for various reasons. Number one, now first off, let's address why it doesn't spike your blood sugar like other carbs. I'm actually not sure why. I mean, it could be the fiber, it could be, fructose versus glucose. There's a lot of theories, and we can do some deeper research on this as well. But essentially, all you need to know is that dates don't spike your blood sugar the way that eating a mango would. Now, I'm not saying mangoes are bad. Mangoes can be great at breakfast during the rest of the year, but that's because you get to eat lunch when you get hungry later, okay? But with fast, we don't want to be eating a lot of fruit at suhoor. We usually save the fruit for iftar because fruit is amazing at iftar time, but it's not the best at suhoor time, per se, except for dates. So if you have a very low calorie allowance, remember that even though dates have a lot of benefits where they help your hydration because they do slightly raise your insulin, just enough to help with hydration, in addition to the micronutrients, the potassium, the other things in dates that help you retain hydration, but not enough to cause a crash, which is amazing, subhanAllah. So dates help with hydration, which is really, really good. But despite the fact that there's so many benefits to dates, many that you've probably seen in some of my other videos too, they do have a high calorie density. So if you have a low calorie allowance and you gain fat easily and your metabolism is not super fast, just do one date, okay? That's sufficient for the sunnah, it's sufficient for the hydration. Now, if you have a higher calorie allowance, you could do 3 or more. Like let's say that you're somebody who always loses weight during Ramadan, your main goal this Ramadan is to not lose muscle, obviously after your Islamic goals, but your physical goal is, every Ramadan you finish all weak and frail, you're barely able to pray, Taraweeh hit the last 10 nights and your goal is to still be strong at the end, you can eat more dates than that and it's gonna help. Now, I'm not saying eat 10 dates per se, I've definitely made that mistake before too, just from pure indulgence, we've all made mistakes in the past, but at the end of the day, 3 is a good amount if you're somebody who has a higher calorie allowance. And again, it's gonna help you with hydration. Now, finally, priority 4 is complex carbs. Now, for many people, it's ideal to omit these for the reasons that I've stated before, but some people do well on them. And that's why I want you to test these during your sunnah fast before Ramadan, so you don't have to deal with any negative effects during Ramadan. So I would say that for a large portion of people, you're gonna find that with complex carbs, you're gonna feel really good till about 11 a.m., 12 p.m., and then you're gonna start feeling tired and hungry, versus if you're running on fats, you're not gonna feel that as sharply, okay? However, I do have some clients who they'll have oatmeal in the morning and it's gonna last them all day long, subhanAllah. So we're gonna talk about the carb sources because oatmeal isn't the most ideal one for a lot of people for various reasons, but we're gonna talk about all of these specific foods now that you understand the nutrients. So what is the first suhoor superfood we're gonna eat? Eggs. Eggs are loaded with micronutrients, protein, healthy fats for a smooth, high energy fast, long lasting energy, focus, metabolic benefits, and of course there's no blood sugar crash because there's no carbs in it. So for suhoor, I will eat at least 2 to 3, up to 5 to 7, and I ideally recommend cooking this in 1 teaspoon to 1 tablespoon of grass-fed butter specifically, and ideally pasture-raised eggs, but you can boil them. You could do it in avocado oil or even olive oil if you're using low temperature, but the benefit to butter is the saturated fat in butter. Again, we're doing it in moderation, so don't worry. If you have cholesterol issues, it's not gonna cause a heart attack if you have 1 teaspoon of butter, but just limit it to that small amount, okay? And I'm not telling you to eat 10 tablespoons of butter because that's gonna be way too many calories, which is gonna cause you to be in a surplus and gain weight this Ramadan, which is what we don't want. But that one little bit of butter is actually gonna slow down your digestion just enough that it's gonna make a positive difference during the fast. And butter also contains something called butyric acid that helps to reduce gut inflammation that can be very helpful. And I actually did not know this, but I heard, and I still need to check the authenticity of this hadith. I believe it was authentic, but I need to double check because I haven't double checked yet. It's been a busy week getting all these modules ready. But I believe I heard a narration that somebody was gonna offer the Prophet ﷺ dates with butter because they knew that he liked butter. So I was like, wow, subhanAllah, and that's kind of what inspired me to start trying butter. And before you know it, I was like, wow, this actually has some benefits in moderation though. I'm not, again, if you go eat 10 tablespoons of butter, you're for sure gonna gain body fat. But if you have 1 teaspoon and 1 tablespoon, it's a great cooking oil, makes the eggs turn out really good, and has a lot of health benefits as well. And the grass-fed one also has some omega-3s, but the butyric acid is the main thing that interested me in addition to the sunnah, which even opened my mind to it in the first place. And subhanAllah, it made a big difference. So now you might be watching and listening to this right now and thinking, hey, you know what? I don't have a big appetite. I could barely get 1 to 2 eggs down at suhoor time. No problem. And again, like I said, you can boil them. You can make them on the thing with either 1 teaspoon or 1 tablespoon of grass-fed butter. Adjust the quantity based on your calorie allowance, of course, and make sure it fits within your calorie numbers. But if you have a smaller stomach or a lower, calorie allowance, 1 to 2 is still gonna give you some benefits. If you have a higher number of calories in your diet though, you might be able to go as high as 5 to 7, especially if you have the appetite for it. Now, one thing I'll also mention is if you're not on the custom diet plan upgrade, I would consider having you upgrade today. Like I would definitely recommend that you consider this because, and I'll attach the link below as well so you can grab that if you are interested. Of course, we're gonna teach you what to do in these modules, but if you want me to actually set this up for you professionally and also monitor your progress because you're gonna be submitting check-ins and you want me and my expert team to obviously ensure that you're getting results from this and doing it right from the get-go instead of having the trial and error aspect just from learning the principles alone. Again, through trial and error, you'll have it probably down by Ramadan. I mean, you should have it down by Ramadan if you trial and error properly, but if you wanna do this pro from the get-go, get it faster, get it done for you, not make any mistakes, then definitely consider tapping the upgrade below. It's gonna make a very big difference. And I'm pushing you to do this during Ramadan because I really wanna help you make the most of Ramadan Ramadan and Ramadan Prep. So if you're not on that custom meal plan upgrade, even if you just do it for that short period of time, it's gonna make a difference. But I have a feeling that after that short period of time, you're gonna get so much benefit from it that you'll continue on it for the long term. So again, we'll attach that in one of the links below. And inshallah, if you wanna at least learn more about it, check it out. But hopefully you jump in because it's gonna make a very good positive difference for you. It's not a lot of money. It doesn't really make a big difference for us, but it's gonna make a very big difference for you. And inshallah, I want you to have that benefit. Now, Suhoor superfood number 2 is Greek yogurt. Now, you guys know I love Greek yogurt. I'm eating it all the time, almost every day. Light, tasty, delicious, well-suited in the morning. Because some of you are like, you want me to eat meat in the morning? I can't eat that at 4 a.m. Hey, no problem. Yogurt, everybody likes yogurt at any time of day, right? It's good for morning, night, whenever, right? And it's very high in protein compared to other yogurts. You see a lot of people, they like to eat yogurt because it tastes good in the morning, but other yogurt doesn't really have that much protein. But Greek yogurt has a crazy amount of protein. So what I would recommend is obviously if you have a high calorie allowance or you struggle to retain your weight in Ramadan, you always lose too much weight in Ramadan, do the full fat Greek yogurt. You can even add some fruit because that's gonna add a lot of calories for you and help you to not lose weight. However, if it's the opposite problem for you and you have a low calorie allowance and you tend to gain weight in Ramadan, stick with 0% or low fat to prevent weight gain and limit calories, and make sure you avoid sugar with it. Of course, as I mentioned, you can and should have fruit at iftar, but it's not gonna be ideal at suhoor for you. For those who have that lower calorie allowance and we need to make every calorie count, you know, again, it's not gonna be ideal versus for those who need more calories and it's hard for you to eat enough calories, load it up with fruit, get that full fat Greek yogurt, you know, it's gonna help you add more calories. Now, another recommendation, whether you're in the low calorie camp or the high calorie camp, is I recommend adding protein powder, which is gonna be food number 4, I'm gonna give you the teaser, into your Greek yogurt. And it's gonna add protein and obviously make it very delicious, especially if you're using Prime Tonics chocolate. Prime Tonics chocolate is my favorite protein powder. Really, really good with vanilla, cherry, and banana Greek yogurts. You can even mix it with plain Greek yogurt and a little bit of honey. Just be mindful of the honey. Don't go more than 1 teaspoon because it does have sugar in it. And carbohydrates. Of course, it's a sunnah superfood and it's not like as bad as you actually adding sugar. In fact, it's not bad at all. It has so many benefits, the raw, organic, unfiltered honey. And it's one of the foods I recommend outside of Ramadan and even at iftar time, actually, it's incredible to add. However, at suhoor time, I just don't want you to spike your blood sugar too much. So be very careful. I mean, 1 teaspoon is gonna give you a lot of benefits minus all the risks. But if you're like dousing your food with 5 tablespoons of honey, you might get a very big blood sugar spike, which might cause a little bit of a crash. So be mindful of that. Because it does increase your insulin and blood sugar more so than dates would. Okay, so now suhoor superfood number 3 is gonna be meat. Now, everybody has a different definition for meat. Some people classify, you know, lamb, red meat, chicken, and even fish as meat. Other people only classify red meat as meat. But when I say meat, I'm talking about animals, I'm talking about fish, I'm talking about the creations that Allah has created for us to be able to consume and get high quality protein that benefits our bodies, as we see in many narrations of the Prophet ﷺ eating lamb and meat in general. Of course, we see in the Quran instances of people eating poultry, being sent down from Allah, and even, you know, in Surah Al-Waqiyah, you know, the people of Jannah get to choose from any bird's meat that they want to eat, right? And of course, you know, we know that everything from the sea is halal, right? Fish and seafood. So these things are all from the Quran and Sunnah. So I'm sorry, vegetarians. Of course, we don't want to eat anything in excess, but these things are mentioned in the Quran and Sunnah. So we eat it for that reason and also because of the crazy benefits. Now, I'm going to talk about the different meats. We're going to talk about lamb, beef, chicken, fish, and even goat. Okay, now I'm not a big fan of goat. I don't eat goat. I don't like the taste. But hey, maybe one day, I mean, I used to not like the taste of lamb, and now I like the taste of lamb. So maybe I'll change one day. But either way, let's talk about it. So lamb is best for those with a high calorie allowance who struggle to get enough calories in, who struggle with losing too much weight in Ramadan. And the reason why it's best for those types of people and not for people who need to lose weight, who tend to gain weight in Ramadan, is that it has a lot of dietary fat, which is very calorie dense. Now, there's gonna be too many calories for those of you who need to lose weight and who struggle with weight gain during Ramadan. But for those who struggle with losing too much weight in Ramadan, it's gonna be a game changer for you because it has so many calories and it's so satiating. You're gonna feel so much better and fast. You're probably still gonna be full until iftar, honestly. It's the most satiating food, but it's very high calories. So it's only for those who need to gain weight or those who struggle with losing too much weight during Ramadan. And it's still in moderation. Like I'd say an 8-ounce portion is good. Again, it's going to depend on what customizations we need to make to your meal plan, but overall you can start with 8 ounce and either adjust up or down from there. If you're, you know, not in the meal plan, custom meal plan upgrade, if you're just in the app, inshallah, it's going to make a very big difference just testing those things out, and you should be able to lock it in within a few tests of trial and error. And you can even be flexible with it. Like you don't have to eat 8 ounces every time. Some days you might only feel like having 4, some you might feel like having 8. And either way, if you're hitting your protein requirements and you're mixing in other foods, you can make it work. So there's a lot of flexibility here as well. Now beef, if you have a high calorie allowance and you lose too much weight in Ramadan, the fatty cuts are okay and even beneficial. But if you have a low calorie allowance, stay away from the fatty cuts because it's gonna make you gain weight in Ramadan, which is the problem that you're trying to solve here already. And we don't wanna cause the problem that you're trying to solve. So if you're somebody who gains weight easily and needs to lose weight, stick with 93% lean beef and other lean cuts Be mindful that ground meat though does digest faster, so consider using a lean steak like top sirloin with the fat trimmed off if using lean meats, because steak digests slower than ground meat, which digests really fast and will leave you feeling hungrier. That being said though, sometimes the ground meat is just easier to get down in the morning, so it's not like it's a no-no, it's just not gonna last quite as long, but it's not gonna last short either, it's gonna be more medium, versus if you eat a steak, you're gonna be full for a long time. Now, in addition to this, don't use too much spices on it because the spices can irritate your stomach and make you thirsty and dehydrated, which will make your fast miserable. So even if you usually like to spice up your meat like crazy, refrain from the spices a bit. You can add more spices at iftar if you want, especially when you follow my strategy and you put the right stuff in your stomach first before you eat the meal so that your stomach doesn't get irritated from the meal itself. But inshallah, either way, lean meats if you tend to gain weight easily. Now chicken, same thing. The thighs, the drumsticks, the fatty cuts are great if you need to get more calories in and you don't want to lose weight during Ramadan, versus if you want to avoid gaining weight in Ramadan, you have a lower calorie allowance, chicken breast only, boneless, skinless chicken breast, okay? Great recipes in our recipe book for this. Just again, be careful of the spices because we don't want that at suhoor time, excessively spicy food. Same applies for fish and goat, by the way, with the spiciness. Now fish, the thing with fish is it's very fast digesting, most of it at least. Wild caught salmon digests a little bit slower and has some amazing omega-3s, those healthy fats in a higher concentration than other fish. So fatty fish is good at suhoor time. The good news is that it's still low enough in calories that it's suitable whether you have a high or a low calorie allowance. So wild caught salmon, definitely include it, but be careful of other seafoods because they digest so fast that it's not really gonna keep you satiated long, even though it's a great protein source, which means that fish has a lot of benefits. It's great for those who like struggle to eat enough while they're bulking, but it's also even good when you're cutting because it's just a great protein source and it has a lot of benefits on your metabolism. But either way, if you're gonna do fish at suhoor time, cod is gonna digest too fast, tuna is probably gonna digest too fast. A lot of seafood is gonna, like low fat seafood is gonna digest fast, but fatty fish like salmon or even mackerel, if you prefer mackerel or just salmon, I mean, whatever you wanna do, is gonna last you longer. Now goat, I'm not personally a big fan, but it's kind of like a leaner version of lamb. The lean cuts are suitable if you're on a low calorie budget, and all the cuts are suitable if you're on a high calorie budget, if you like the taste. Don't force yourself to eat goat if you don't like it. I mean, I don't, but obviously if you like goat, you're welcome to eat it. It works here too. Now, suhoor superfood number 4 is whey protein. So no matter who you are, whether you struggle to gain weight or lose weight, a lot of people struggle with appetite at suhoor, even though eating suhoor is sunnah per lesson 1. So if you're struggling to get enough food in, just protein shake is gonna really help you out with hitting your protein requirements. Now, I used to be really scared of losing muscle in Ramadan when I was younger, so I would do 2 scoops of whey protein, 5 to 6 eggs, 6 to 8 ounces of meat. It was very much overkill and I didn't feel good forcing down all that food. These days, my typical suhoor is about 1.5 scoops of protein, so about 30 grams of protein from whey protein, 3 to 5 eggs, 1 to 2 Greek yogurts, and then 1 to 3 dates. Nothing crazy. That's a nice light suhoor that keeps me satiated, strong, preserves muscle during Ramadan. If you get if you get digestive issues from whey protein, because some people are allergic, you can also get plant-based protein, and I believe Prime Tonics has it as well. We can attach the link below there as well. And again, as I mentioned, some people are allergic to whey or get bloated. But that being said though, actually, as long as you're not allergic, if you tend to get bloated from other ways, try the Prime Tonics one because it actually makes me less bloated than the other ones. See, I tried a bunch of ways. Some of them made me really bloated, but there was one I was using for many years that only made me slightly bloated, but I was like, it's okay. It's better than the other ones. When I tried Prime Tonics, it actually was like much better. So it's significant. Now, I will admit that sometimes at suhoor, we're kind of in a rush because we woke up a little late. And even though it only takes 2 minutes to make a protein shake, sometimes it's literally even 2 minutes is kind of inconvenient. We're in that much of a rush. And if that's the case, I personally like to keep Quest pre-made protein shakes on hand, not as my main protein source because they do have processed ingredients, they do have sucralose, which for a lot of people can cause digestive issues. But at the same time, it can be a nice emergency lifesaver if, of course, use it as temporary backup if you're on a time crunch. But just try to wake up early enough. I know sometimes you'll intend to wake up early and you'll mess up, so have those as backup, but try to wake up early enough so that more days than not, you're doing a quality whey protein like Prime Tonics with high quality ingredients as opposed to the Quest one, which again, the Quest one is pretty light. It's not gonna make you crazy bloated, but it's definitely not as clean as the Prime Tonics one. Now, I will add, if you want to experiment some complex carbs, because some people do well on them, you can experiment with sweet potato, Yukon Gold, or red potato, and oatmeal. So sweet potato is the most ideal, whole sweet potatoes, 6 to 8 ounces. They go really well with, if you add salt, 1 teaspoon of honey, just don't go too crazy with the honey as I mentioned before, and cinnamon, which is gonna give you long-lasting energy and micronutrients. Yukon Gold potato and red potato are the same quantity, 6 to 8 ounces, but a little bit less ideal, but they still have like potassium and other good micronutrients for hydration, long-lasting energy. And then oatmeal is long-lasting, good fiber, nutrients, and hydration, but can cause bloating for many people, including myself. I used to eat so much oatmeal until I realized it was making me so bloated. If you are gonna do oatmeal, do organic, gluten-free, glyphosate-free, sprouted oatmeal. I believe there's a brand called Chosen Foods that you can get that's very good, and then assess for your own individual digestive response. As I may have mentioned to you before, you can kind of assess within yourself and see if it works well for you. Half a cup measured dry is good for men. Obviously, then you cook it. 1/3 to half a cup measured dry is a good quantity for women, but of course, cook it. You don't have to eat it dry. And as I mentioned, the disclaimer is that carbs at suhoor may temporarily increase your blood sugar, which may cause a crash, which is why for a lot of people, I recommend not having them at suhoor, but some people can test it out and they might see it's beneficial. So just make sure you test it before Ramadan on your Sunnah fast so you don't mess yourself up during Ramadan, because you've already figured it out before Ramadan. You're not just trial and erroring during Ramadan. Now, as far as quantities go, I try to get 40 to 50% of my daily protein intake at suhoor time. And so I end up getting about 80 to 100 grams of protein at suhoor, but no less than 65 grams. I don't care if I woke up with 5 minutes left, I'm a pound of protein shake, force down 2 Greek yogurts and eat a date, and then boom, I'm gonna call it a day. Because even if I'm in a huge rush, I need 200 to 300 grams a day of protein in Ramadan, so I can't be skimping on suhoor. I'm gonna be miserable all day. Another thing I forgot to mention in the slides, but I'm gonna mention it here, is make sure you take an electrolyte with water at suhoor and you don't drink more than 2 to 3 cups of water. If you drink more than 2 to 3 cups of water, you're gonna be peeing a lot. It's gonna cause problems for you. And if you don't take electrolytes, you might get dehydrated. Prime Tonics has a great electrolyte supplement, so we'll link that as well. But very important to have that dialed in at suhoor time. And if you have questions about caffeine, you can post them in the community as well. But you can take extended release caffeine as well. I don't think Prime Tonics has one, but the Genius brand has one. And if Prime Tonics comes out with one, we'll link it below as well, inshallah. Now, most men over 200 pounds should usually get at least 50 grams of protein in their suhoor. Ideally 65 to 80, and even as high as 100 plus, if it doesn't cause digestive issues or end up being too much food for you, because the average 200 pound plus man is gonna need 200 grams of protein a day. Now, if you're under 200 pounds, the slides say 200G, this is an accident. All of us weigh more than 200 grams, unless you're a baby, but even most babies are over 200 grams. But the point is, if you're under 200 pounds, see the templates below. We're gonna attach the templates below. And of course, you're gonna be able to calculate your calories in the meal plan modules from the regular meal plan section. But of course, the reason I'm pushing you guys on doing the custom meal plan, at least for like Ramadan Prep and Ramadan itself, is because it is gonna make a really big difference if I could just professionally hands-on do this for you, as opposed to you just using the modules to figure it out. I mean, again, I'm making these modules very comprehensive so you can figure it out, but it's so much easier for both of us if I just do this for you. So definitely consider clicking that below. Most women over 150 pounds are gonna need at least 50 grams of protein in their suhoor as well, but you don't need to go higher than 65 to 80 grams because that's already gonna cover 40 to 50% of your daily protein requirement. The average woman, even if you weigh way above 150 pounds, is only gonna need about 150 grams of protein per day. Usually, you could even go as low as 120. Unless you have kidney disease, of course, I need to speak to your doctor and figure out what the limit is. We had a 63-year-old lady who could only do 100 grams of protein a day. No problem, we still helped her lose 30 pounds in 9 months, alhamdulillah, which is awesome at 63. But if you don't have kidney disease, you don't need to worry about it. Just obviously talk to your doctor first. And of course, we'll go deeper into the calorie and macro numbers in the meal plan section and the female meal plan template below. And whether you're in the custom plan or not, make sure you take advantage, as all app members get access to the special Ramadan Prep bonus calls and Q&As as VIPs. And if you can't make it live, you can always catch the replay, inshallah.